Hi, and welcome back to Doing It at Home. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome.
Yeah, we are great. We're fantastic and just super happy to have you back again. So thank you so much, Anne.
It's a pleasure.
So we've had you on the show a couple of times already, so I'm going to make sure to include links so that people can go listen to those amazing conversations as well. And we're going to keep it going with some empowering, educational, informative conversation today, as we always do. And we reconnected recently, and in our conversation, I was really struck by the topic of the very small percentage within your practice who do choose to transfer from a home birth to hospital, and kind of why they transfer and all of the layers underneath that. So that's what I want to talk about today. And you mentioned that the reason for transfer being that they're not prepared, essentially. Like, I'm sure there are some other nuances, but
well, first of all, we're the EMTs, right? So we're very selective who we take in to the home birth practice. Of course, they have to be healthy, and maybe other people have labeled them as high risk, but they're really not high risk. They just have an issue or two, and they can still be in home birth, right? They can be in the home birth practice, but once somebody comes in through our practice, and they come in and they're in labor, my rate of transfer is pretty comparable to a lot of other home birth midwives, right? It's about 7%. That means 93% are doing it, and my rate of cesarean is 5%. But what's amazing, and what I've seen, because I track my stats, I don't know if your midwife was doing Manistats, but many home birth midwives, we track our stats. And I over 25 years now of practice, I'm blown away by who's transferring and what's the common denominator, right? People ask me, what's your rate of transfer for, that you have to call 911 and emergency kind of thing, that you can't manage at home. And I'm like, a handful. Mm-hmm. That's not who's transferring.
Right.
That's not who's transferring. So who's transferring? The common denominator, like the times that I've had to transfer a person who has given birth vaginally before, 10 years ago, like less than 1%. So the common denominator is non-urgent, vaginal birther who has this long, prolonged labor that leads to exhaustion, and then she gets stuck, no matter what we've tried. And it's sort of this mutual decision that we all make at some point. I mean, my last one was 60 hours that I was with this person, on and off, in the beginning, and then that I had been up, she was this. She had the common denominator is that no, I don't need to prepare. I'm good. Our bodies know what to do, right? And that's true. That's true. Our bodies know what to do, but we're in the Western culture. So what I'm finding is the common denominator among the 7% is now. I can't be bossy, but we have, unless you prepare the way I recommend that you prepare. But we have, in my practice with other midwives, we kind of urge it for first timers, or we're not going to take them anymore, because especially in COVID, I don't. The transfer is not as pleasant, right? They make them wear masks, and then the partner has to have tests, and I can't even go in with them. Right. So I don't want to transfer.
Right.
Especially now. Right. So we've become, after seeing these patterns, pretty strict about the need to prepare in the way that we say to prepare, and just scrolling on Instagram, listening to one podcast, or looking at YouTube videos, or being on Facebook is not preparing. That's could be nice and adjunct. Yes, surround yourself with positive, wonderful pages and podcasts and things like that. But that's not preparing. And that leads me into what I why, if our bodies know what to do, and I know they do, right? Because I do hospital shifts in a local hospital where, occasionally I just love the population, the immigrant population. Nobody speaks English. And the less westernized they are, the easier they birth. They just come in and they birth. I started to see a light bulb in my head.
Interesting.
The more that because I was a midwife. I've been a practicing midwife before there was internet, right? But now that there's internet, it's worse actually. People are Googling everything, these people that are coming from the Central and South America, and they're coming up from their countries. They came from countries where they were surrounded by birth. I was just talking to an abuela, a grandmother, who 11 of her babies were born in her casa, in her house. And that's what everybody does. So they're also in a community.
Yeah.
From the mom and the sister and the mother-in-law and the helping each other, and they're getting their information that way, and they're surrounded by birth. They're used to hardship. Like they're not like I'm talking about. This is a very different culture than I'm going to compare to what's going on in the West. Right? They're not into this numbing of discomfort, numbing of pain. They're used to hardship, and we can do hard things, right? They're not Googling everything, and they're not researching everything. They're just living life, and living life simply, right? There's nothing wrong with living life simply. You need dinner, you go fishing, you pick some avocados, you pick some mangoes, and you put some beans together, whatever. They're much more grounded, in touch with the earth, and they're spiritually connected, right? They're spiritually connected. They know that they're not all in their heads. They're just not all in their heads, like the Western culture. They're not obsessed with technology. I go there every year. I go to a certain place in Central America. Nobody's on their cell phone. It's just not. Internet is so hard. Like if you need, you go to an internet cafe, but nobody's they're just not addicted to the news and this Googling information. And I think, the technology, I'm grateful for it in some ways, but it comes at a cost.
Yeah.
It comes at a cost. I don't think they expect perfection like the West does. They don't expect immediate results. They're grounded. They're farming. They're used to things take time.
Yeah.
Right. So And they're more tranquil, like they're just not stressed out. Like I see these things. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of things, but they just come in the hospital and they birth. So then I'm thinking, okay, my yoga training, why has that helped me so much? Right? That's not from the West. That's from the East. And these families that are coming up from Central and South America, they're not doing yoga. They're not, but they have a different way of being, right? But in yoga, why yoga's helped me so much before I knew about working with the immigrant population is it teaches us not just to connect to spirituality, but to connect to the whole part of who we are and to relax into intensity. Relax into intensity. A really intense yoga stretch. I get them really intense ones when I teach prenatal yoga, but I want them to be able to say, okay, this is just normal muscle stretching, because that's what's happening in labor. Normal muscle stretching. Relax into it. Love it. Right? Now, I have to work with the West much harder. We can't help that we're from the West, but in our culture, we're surrounded by, like the media, unless they're looking at your it's really a culture of stress and fear that's coming from the media, especially related to birth and home birth, right? We're not living in community of everybody having home birth unless they come to my practice and I put them all together, because I introduce everybody. I encourage people to be best friends. People will come to me and say, I don't know anybody having a home birth, and my their family lives all over the country. And they're alone, they're isolated. So I know tons of people having a home birth, and I have pages of people that have given me their names so I can put people together so that they can be in a community. But really, they know nothing about birth. They haven't been born with it. They haven't been raised with it. It's been done in the hospital. And what people hear about in the hospital, unfortunately, is not always a good thing.
Yeah.
Like I had a mom in my local support. I do these online support groups because I was doing support groups for families for years in my practice, but then COVID, so it became more online. Hopefully we'll get also back to the in-person, but I had a woman share to me that her mother told her birth is horrible. Like that's how she grew up. It was the worst day of her life, the most painful experience she ever had. And she went into the hospital, and whatever they did to her, they traumatized her. She came to me. She wanted to get all that education from her mom and her family out of her, and get back to her abuela, her grandmother in Colombia, who had her babies at home, and everybody had birth, like generation after generation. So it was because her mother grew up in the West that she had this horrible fear of birth, and so she took my course, and she joined my network, and we worked together a lot. And she rocked her birth in the hospital. She did have a hospital birth. She had a home birth like experience in the hospital. So that there's so many reasons why we can't help being in the West. Why I want to insist that first-time mamas or first-time vaginal birthers need to prepare. We have to de-Westernize. We have to get out of our heads and into our bodies and the rest of who we are. And we have to get out of the fear of stress, and learn to calm ourselves and learn to trust that our bodies know what to do, right? And it has to be a visceral thing. Unless somebody comes to me and their mom had a home birth and their sister had a home birth, and it's in their family. We live in a culture that we press a button, we expect immediate results. Yeah. We're not used to discomfort. We have to be used to. I want them to relax and embrace discomfort and challenge, because that's where we grow, and that's how to have a baby. It's a culture that is like into numbing things, numbing pain and escaping it. And even though somebody intellectually wants a home birth, we have to work with their mom and really prepare them so that they can rock this home birth, right? I don't want to. I'm very skeptical when someone tells me I don't need to prepare. A first-time mama who has grown up in our culture and has never seen birth. Yeah. What do you mean you don't need to prepare? Yeah. I know your body knows what to do, but we have to get out of your body, and we have to, learn techniques of sort of, de-Westernizing and embracing and loving intensity and how to make it pleasurable. That's a whole other topic that not necessarily I was seeing in the hospital, but we can absolutely make it something not just to bear but to love. I've had people tell me they're in ecstasy with their pain. They know it's healthy. They know that they're not dying. They're in ecstasy with their pain. They're having a baby. They have their eye on the goal. And I have to really get them all off Instagram. I need to get them off Google and off the computer as much as possible. Get them outside. Get them connecting to nature and more of who they are. And I have a whole process, I was interviewed in that's how my whole course, I created, because somebody interviewed me a couple of years ago, and she wanted to know if I would travel to her in San Francisco and attend her birth. And I said, I like traveling to San Francisco, but no, I don't travel. But she says she's in marketing and film, and she says you need to make a course on how you prepare people. So that became, my course. I took her up on it. I went out and she filmed it and we created it. But I could go on and on about it. But there's so much of what we need to we have to do what we have to do also, like what we used to get from our communities. Yeah. Throughout history and years ago.
I'm just totally fascinated. Yeah, it makes sense. And I'm fascinated by this idea that the Western culture has led to people not being able to tolerate discomfort, not being able to tolerate pain, wanting things instantly, not being able to stick through, the chronic stress or the chronic discomfort. And I get it. I get it. Sarah and I are...
And wanting to be in control. Wanting to be in control.
Yeah.
They want to be in control. And this we cannot control.
Yes.
Yes. Make birth preferences, definitely. And then let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is not in our control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Choose your provider wisely. Choose your setting wisely. If you want. But yeah, there's so many. Like, if you look at it from a sociological perspective, like that's what helped me when I went into the hospital and was dealing with this population. They're not taking courses. They're just doing it.
They're just doing it.
Right.
Just doing it, and they're surrounded by their family, who did it also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just having the belief of what they're capable of and the ability to let go and to fully surrender and to trust and have faith and, as you mentioned, be spiritually connected and all that. It's just amazing. And can you talk to us a little bit about what some of the pillars of preparation that you recommend? Like, for example, you mentioned with the yoga, being able to sit in the discomfort and really find, pleasure and peace in the discomfort. So what are some other pillar type things that you would walk somebody through in terms of the preparation?
So yeah, that's like my my course is all about that. So first,
just like a big broad overview.
An overview, yeah. I mean, first we have to talk about pregnancy and how to most of this preparation has to be done in the pregnancy. I get so many people online, they're in a panic. They're 36 weeks and they're freaking out. Well, I can't help them prepare at 36 weeks.
Yeah.
I can, like in COVID, for example, we got all 15, 20 calls or emails a day about someone who was with a GYN and they're 34 weeks and now they want a home birth. They don't want to go in the hospital because they're afraid of COVID.
Yeah.
Well, because we have a whole group of home birth midwives in New York, all across the state. That's in a group that we talk all the time, and we put it on our website. We can't help these people. Mm-hmm. We cannot help everybody. This is This is something. The preparation begins with that relationship with your provider. With some people don't even know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is I talk about. Let's say, I'm taking things. Pregnancy in the West, so many things that are going to be done to you, or you're going to have to make a decision about. So there's a whole module on that. Like, people just think in the West, okay, I'm pregnant. Okay, but they're going to if they're going to go to a provider, they're going to be bombarded with, you want this test, or this, we're going to do this test, we're going to do this test, this vaccination. So I want them to be informed. Part of it is education about that and how to make decisions and how to take charge of your birth in your health, because the way the West is set up is that you go to a provider and even home birth a little bit different, but they expect that we're just going to do everything. They don't have to do anything. And it's a collaborative effort between the mom, the family, and that they need to take responsibility. I want them to educate themselves. I want them to watch positive birth stories. I want them to learn about what's going on in their body and come at it from a holistic perspective. I have and in labor, I want them to know what's going on physically and emotionally, so they don't freak out. They just embrace it. Okay, you're bleeding a little bit. That's normal. Yay, birth juice. Okay, your water's released. Wonderful. Like, nothing to freak out and I Google about. I want them to be outside as much as possible, and I have tap into their joy. Like, do anything to get out of their mind, unplug, and get into their bodies, whether that's dancing or into their sensual, into their primal, into nature. And then we have a whole thing about mindset shift. So I go into that because we still do have athletes in our society. in the West who work through pain. In fact, they work through a lot of pain to reach a goal, right? Like any major sports player. I'm a dancer, so I know about dancing. Like the lead in the show, or the dancers that are dancing every day, no matter whatever. I don't, on Broadway or in theater. Any Olympic athlete, they have a coach. And they need to. It's all minds. It's mostly mindset.
Yeah.
They've been interviewed. By people have interviewed. What's your success, Michael Jordan? All these sports icons in common denominator about why they're winning. Why Michael Jordan would score 7 points in the last 8 seconds of the game, make 2 layups and 3 3-pointers at the buzzer beater. Why he did that all the time, right? Or people that win marathons all the time. What's the common denominator? They all say, we practice, but it's mindset. It's mindset. I'm gonna get. It's not like I'm gonna try to make the shot. I'm gonna make that shot. I'm gonna win this game. Right, so we have to, we can learn from that in birth. It's not, birth isn't Olympic anything, but it's like the marathon for the body, and it's not a performance. But what's that mindset? I am going to rock my birth. I'm gonna love. I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna. I don't care what challenges come my way. I'm strong. I'm gonna find my strength, and I'm gonna do it. And I can do this. Right? Like, now I'm going to try, like, this takes preparation, right? So same with I give them certain breathing and meditation and visualization exercises. I want them to do it every day so it becomes habitual, so that when they're in labor, like I was at a birth. She's had 4 babies with me, and she is so, the dad, I don't, usually when someone is in labor, I like to talk to mom, and I can tell on the phone what's going on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If mom calls me and she says, I'm in labor, I'm so excited, I just wanted to let you know, I'm like, okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm thinking a couple days. First time mom, okay, a couple days. That's great, right? The pre-labor sort of count, they're coming every 20 minutes, lasting 15 seconds, and she had a little bleeding. She's so exciting. Okay, you need to sleep tonight and do what you love today, like it's going to be, versus, she calls me and now every 6 minutes or 6 to 8 minutes, she has to stop during the, she can't talk. She has to breathe a little bit. So then I know, okay, things are progressing, but still very early. When dad calls me and I hear mom in the background, then we know, right? But I always, I like to keep in touch. I like to keep in touch with them. This process, but we can, we kind of gauge. Anyway, with her, I never talk to her. He calls me and he'll say she's in labor, and then he'll call me again and he'll say it's time to come. And I get there and I see a Buddhist. What do you call a female Buddha? I don't know. She's just like this. And I know her, so I know, and I can. She's in the tub, and I see her uterus contracting every 3 minutes, and they're lasting a minute. But she is so mastered her ability, and not everybody can do this. I couldn't do this, but this is hypno. So she just doing meditation, and then she goes, I said to my assistant, she's pushing. 20 minutes later, she had the biggest baby in my practice, actually, without a tear.
Wow.
But people can get to that. Now, I'm not saying it's that everybody can do that, but they can, practice it often enough that they can just find their grounding, their space, their center. And relax into calm and relax into intensity. They really can do it. I've seen it. Yes, we can laugh, we can dance, we can have fun with it, but I want them to get that ability to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, build up their because these ladies in the Central America, they're active. The people in this culture are sitting at their computer all day.
Yeah.
unless they're exercising it somewhere. But a lot of people who are, they're not active, and I want them for active birthing. They need to be a little, get in a squat or lunge, lift one leg up. It shouldn't be like this huge ordeal to be, like people are really out of shape.
Yeah.
And so it's a physical, prep. But it's so much a mindset prep. And then I get the partner. The partner needs to be prepped.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
If he sees his part, like if he doesn't join, like I have a whole course, part of the course it's for him, or the partner. If they're not used to seeing a person working that hard and making those noises, and looking very, looking the birth look, the birth sounds, the birth juices. He's going to need an epidural.
Yeah.
Or with a partner. You know what I'm saying? I've had to give remedies to the partner. So I always say, like I tap into what they know. If they're into sports, people who are working hard, they're sweating, they're they're making noises, they're working hard, and they're working through pain. And I want him, or her, the partner, to know that this is normal, and we're just relaxed with it.
Yeah.
And also ways to support the partner, because we can't have mom all prepared and partner going, I think we need to go to the hospital now. Like she needs something for the pain, right? She needs something for the pain. How long is this going to take? Right.
Yeah.
So
you don't want that.
We can't have that kind of energy there, so he needs to, the partner needs to be on the same page, or at least, have some preparation of what birth can look like. I give them movies to watch. One of my favorite is, have you heard of it? It's an Austrian movie.
Say it again. What's it called?
Inner Strength. I'll tell you why I like it. Because a lot of birth movies, especially on Instagram, they just show the baby coming out. Well, what about the 27 hours that this first-time mom has been in labor? And, they don't show labor. So Inner Strength is actually, they show labor. They're showing like the woman is like, like sweating and moaning and roaring like a lion in the birth center. They have a birth center there. And, if you don't know about labor, it looks like, please, someone go help them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the midwives are just very calm and just, telling them they're doing whatever. And in the end, they birth. But I want them to see that. I even have kids watch it who come to births, but not toddlers, but, just to see this is what mommy's going to look like. Yeah. Just need them to be calm and encouraging.
Absolutely.
So, there's a lot that goes into the prep. And then I have a whole, different coping techniques and positions and things that I really feel that have worked. It's like a combination of different things that they can practice so that when they're in the heat of it, they just tap right in. It's habitual.
Yeah,
right? That's part of them. So we have more work to do with the Western person, than I feel than people coming from other countries that let's say are indigenous that are just doing this. It's part of their world.
That is probably one of the most profound ahas for me from this conversation. Is it's so simple and makes so much sense, yet I think a lot of us can be blind to it, that the further enmeshed you are in the westernized culture of immediate gratification, need to control, time, orderliness, very left brain thinking, the more enmeshed you are in that, the more preparation you actually should be doing and decoding you should be doing. And for me, then I get bolstered in what we're doing, in the sense that the thing that comes to my mind is, then how do we convince, or how do we influence these women, especially the first timers who don't see the importance of being prepared like that because they're not on the other side of the experience yet. And many have to, unfortunately, have a traumatic experience or something like that to then get on board. So then I think it's even more important and a greater impetus for us who have been through it to share as much as we can of our experience and our stories and our wisdom, like we would be doing in our villages, so that the first timers without having experientially gone through it yet, can trust in the wisdom of those who have walked the path and will invest that time and energy and resources into being prepared.
Yeah.
Mm.
In the online community, absolutely. Like, I bet your midwife, I mean, all the most of the licensed midwives that I know, I think they're pretty much insistent on a preparation.
Yeah.
Of some sort. And if especially, like, I don't know, you guys took a classes or before
we did various techniques and
hypnobirthing.
And
and something, some coping tool, something. Yeah, but I need to go deeper than hypnobirthing now.
Yeah,
I'm
not sure. Yeah, I think it's a great tool. But I think I need to go deeper with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so people in my practice, I would say I saw a huge difference when I made it sort of a requirement. That's part of that's part of the agreement that, when they come in and into my practice, that they're going to prepare, and that they're going to have a doula-like person at the birth for them.
That's great. That's a great point as well.
It doesn't have to be a doula. It could be just someone who is like a doula.
Serves that role.
Because that's another thing I notice is these people that want to do it alone. They think that their partner's going to do it. And if they've never been to a birth, they don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right. So throughout history, we've never done that.
Yeah.
We've been surrounded by the other women in the community that just was there. It takes a village, to not just, to have a baby and raise one and raise parents. And I just think this isolated sort of mentality, individuality and isolation in the and spiritual emptiness of our culture and all the things that we've mentioned has wreaked havoc with a lot of things.
Agreed.
So, but there's hope. There's so much we can do. I mean, that's why 93% of families in my practice give birth.
Yeah.
And now it's more.
Yeah.
Much more from when I just made that a requirement.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love that that you're taking that stand and you're making that agreement with those you work with.
Yeah.
What?
I think it's great that you have made that stand and you've made that part of the agreement for the people that you work with.
Yeah, but I'm sure your midwife had you have to sign certain agreements that you're, we have to. It's not just, and it's a relationship that you build over time, and it comes to the point, like, if you trust in your midwife is recommending this, then you're gonna. To say, if you want to have a home birth and you want to rock this, just prepare in this way. They do it, they really do. They want to have their home online. I also hear from people who want to have a natural birth in the hospital, but they're seeing an OB who in a setting where there's a 50% C-section rate.
Yeah.
And the OB doesn't know anything about natural birth. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. So then preparation takes on a whole different, you're going to need more preparation to fight that system.
Sure.
Or switch to a midwife in the hospital or something like that.
Mm-hmm. This is amazing. This whole conversation, and I want to make sure that we put links to this and everywhere else we publish this. We're going to put links to your website, the course, and all the other amazing resources that you have that anyone can access now. You don't have to be in your center of the world, your corner of the world, to have one-on-one access to you, which is so great.
Yeah.
That we're able to do that now, that someone can get the education through you and not be in the same place.
And it's not just me. Like, so this is what I was telling you about the support group. So it started years ago before Facebook, and I think we just had Word, an email or something. I mean, there was no World Wide Web or anything like that. I remember, but I'm just remember that there was a woman in my practice who said she's so alone. She doesn't know anybody having a home birth. Her family. That's another thing. Like, a lot of times the family is so against what they're doing, and it's very hard to combat that if you're close with them. So I said, I know a lot of people, and that put this idea in my mind. And so I sent out this email to everybody in my practice. Are you willing to have your name and number be given out and your email be given out to connect each other? And then when I got back, at least that was then, I have much more now, but a 3-page Word document full of people's numbers and names. And so I organized it to where they lived, and people became like best friends. But what I created in my center was this group, a group of like-minded people who would come together. We used to do it in the beginning. It was once a month, and then maybe it was once every other. I think it was twice a month of just. And then there was prenatal yoga. They get so much from each other. I don't have to talk. But,
Yeah.
when moms would just come together, and then we wanted to do one for dads, but people would come together and just share what they're going through, and just hearing each other and how they dealt with their parents that were so against it, and how they dealt with their a partner that was so in fear, and then people loved the group so much they stayed in it after they gave birth, and they wanted to shout from the rooftops what they did. So then the group became really amazing, because people that looked just like them from all corners of life did it, right? And they came back and they wanted to serve. So I had this ongoing group for a long time, years, and now it's online. So it's like a support group that meets once a month on my, you can sign up through the website, whatever. But it's just I sit back and I encourage. I mean, I'm leading it, but I'm encouraging them to connect, and some of them really connect and give each other wisdom that help them.
Yeah.
Because that's what we used to do. We connected to a community in real life. So Zoom is almost like, we feel like we're in the same room a little bit.
Yeah.
Something we can do.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, all the links and all the ways to connect with you, Anne, will be there when we put all this out there. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and sharing your wisdom, your experience. Pleasure. Yeah, we really appreciate you.
Yes. Thank you, Anne.
Keep doing what you're doing.